Now let's do a task which is actually like a replica of what you just finished. So multiply a number given by the user with numbers from 1 to 5. So we say that okay, a user should give us any number they want. But whatever they give us, we are going to multiply it from 1 to 5. And then let the user also have the total of all the multiples. That is, everything that the multiple is all together, the total we have it. So it's the same thing we have done there, but let's do it again for better understanding. So let's say that we are going to use user, we are going to use the input function. User input is equals to int of input. You should know why we are using this one now. The int of input, and say I will add the user, give your number. So I will say for I, because we want numbers from 1 to 5, so we are going to use the range function. Like I said, there is a video where I explain how the range function, input function, enumerate function, all of them works. I will still put it in the description section under this video. So if you don't know how some of these functions work, go and watch that video and it will be on point. So for I in range of, since it is 1 to 5, so we have to specify 1 and then 5. So put it like this. Then the multiple equals to user input multiplied by I. So because anything the user gives us, we will multiply it by each element of this number. However, we want to know all the total of the elements. So there is another way we can use. We are going to use the two methods. So we can actually put an empty list here. So let's say empty equals empty list. So we put an empty list here. So the goal is that everything that we have as our multiple is going to be appended into this list. So when we append it into this list, anything we want to do with that numbers, we can do it based on the list operations. However, we can also use the total. So if you use the total equal to 0, we can use that to get the whole sum of the multiples. So come here and say, okay, total plus equals to multiple, and this is going to give us the total of every multiple that we have. That is, all of individual multiplications is going to be added together using this, and it will be stored in total, like I explained above. Now, what do we want to give our user? We will come out here and print your total of all the multiples is, I will use the F string here, is total, because the total here would have stored the whole sum of everything. So what I do is that I put F here to convert it to F string, and then let's see if we are on point. So give your number, that is 1 to 4. So I think we are making a mistake here. Multiply a number given by the user with numbers from 1 to 5. If it is 1 to 5, then our range should be 1 to 6. 1 to 6. So let me stop this from running forward. Let me interrupt the kernel. So we can interrupt the kernel. It means that it will stop. So good. So we can run again. So 1 to 5, the range is 1 and 6, which means that it will start from 1 and end at 5 because the last value is not included. So let's run again. So give my number, let's use 10. 10. So which means that 10 times 1 is 10, 10 times 2 is 20, so making 30, and then 10 times 3 is 30, making 60, 10 times 4 is 40, making 100, 10 times 5 is 50, making 150. So our outcome should be 150. Good. Your total of all multiples is 150. However, we can use our empty list to store all our values and then get the sum using the list operation or the sum function. How do we do that? I will just write here and say multiple is this, and I say empty dot append multiple, which means that for each multiple you get here in each loop, put it inside this place. So, and then we can run it 10 again, and then we have 150. But if I come down here and I call this empty out, what do we have? You can see that every value of our multiple has been stored in this list. So this list now, we can do anything we want with it. So we can just say sum of the empty list, and then we get our 150. So those are the two ways through which we can solve this task. Let's take the task one step ahead again. It's the same thing. Multiply a number given by the user with odd numbers between 1 to 5. This time, we are going to use only the odd numbers between 1 and 5. So, which means we will have to insert a conditional statement to our code. So, let's say that user input equals int of input, and say what is your number. Good. And then for I, or let's say for number, for more readability, range of range of 1 to 6, because it's 1 to 5. Because it's 1 to 5, it's going to be range 1 to 6. Now, there's a problem here. Let me write it again. User input of, so what is your number? So good. It was misbehaving before. It happens like this in Python. So if it is misbehaving, you can just delete and move forward. So we want to use our for loop for number in user input, for number in range, rather, range of 1, 6. Good. This is what we want. What do we want to do? We want the multiples. Good. But at this point, it should be odd number. So we start with the conditional statement. So if number modulus 2, that is, when we divide number by 2, the remainder must be 1. So this is a common language. If a value is an odd number, if we divide it by 2, the remainder will be 1. And that is the essence of the modulus operator. So it's 1. Then we want to use to perform this as multiple equals number multiplied by user inputs. So which means that for all the number in this particular sequence, look at the ones. If the number divided by 2 has a remainder of 1, that is, if the number is an odd number, perform this operation. If it is not an odd number, do not perform it. So we have multiple equal to number times user input, and then we can put our counter here. Counter will be plus, or we can use an empty list, but I will use a counter equals to multiple, so that it adds our multiple at each sequence. Or we can use total here. Let's use total for the purpose of readability. So total, and then here we put total, so equals 0. So total equal to 0. Then we put our multiple here, and then total plus multiple at each iteration is going to give us the total number. And then we can come here and say print the answer is total. So we use f string is total. So before we run it, let's try and calculate it by ourselves. Between 1 and 5, what are the odd numbers that we have? That is from 1 to 5. So we have 1 and we have 3. So which means that if we multiply, let's use 10 as the number. If we multiply 10 by 1, that is 10. Then 10 by 3 is 30. 30 plus 10, we have 40. Let's see if this gives us the correct answer. So let's run it. So we use 10 and then we run it. The answer is 90. Yes, the answer is 90. That is why computer is better than human brain. I forgot to count 5. So it should be 1, 3, and 5. So 10 times 5 is 50. 10 times 3 is 30. That is 80. And then 10 times 1 is 10. That is 10, 13, 50, which is 90. Good. So you see that our code has actually run very well. Now, this is another task which says get all the even numbers between 1 and 20. and 20 is inclusive. That is, that should be like, let's say, get all the even numbers from 1 to 20. So which means that 20 is also inclusive. Put them in a list and also put them in a tuple. So it's still the same thing. So we just say for number in range of 1 to 21, because we want 20 to be inclusive, then all the even numbers. So if number the modulus 2 equals 0, then let's say even number equals number. So can we write this? So what you are saying here is that if number is divided by 2 remains 0, which qualify for our even number, then that number is an even number. That is what this code is saying. But so let's just say that, okay, let's create an empty list. So let's say even numbers equal to empty list. So we just append. So even numbers dot append numbers. So at this point, each time this condition is fulfilled, this code will be run. And then what happens is that any number that fulfill this, we call it even number, and it is that number here, and we say even number dot append numbers. So we append everything into this list. So this should be number, not number, because this is just dot append. It should be append even numbers, because we have put that number inside even. So it should be even number dot append even number. So if we run this, so if we get our even numbers, you can see that this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 to 20 is correct. But I'm not comfortable with this, so let's remove this. So let's just say that even number. So if numbers fulfill the condition, just append that number to this list. So just say even number dot append numbers. Good. So append number, this number. So if any number in this range fulfill this condition, append that number to this list, and we are going to get the same thing. Good. So we get the same thing. Now, we have been able to get our list. How do we get our tuple? We cannot append to a tuple because a tuple is immutable. It cannot be changed. So if we say, let's say, even tuple is equals to empty tuple. So, and we come here and say, okay, even tuple dot append number. That Python is going to be angry at us. You see, tuple object has no attribute append. It doesn't work. So how do we go about it? It's simple. You should remember that there is something called the tuple function, which we can use to convert a list to a tuple. So we just say our tuple So let's say even tuple is equal to tuple of our even numbers. And then if I cut this out, I have our tuple that contains the same thing. So we have been able to look at few ways through which we can use a for loop in Python, and each of the concepts we have looked here is going to be applicable in the bigger context in the long run. Well done, until we meet in the next one.